you got to understand why it works, not that it works, okay? Because ultimately what you're going to do is, and I think a trap that a lot of guys fall into with Mystery Method, the book, and just mystery in general, is, and he warns against this, by the way, is becoming a social robot where you're reading a bunch of lines, you're memorizing these lines, then you're going out and performing these lines. Hey, what's up guys? Dale Valor here from Modern Valor Dating. Today, we're gonna be talking about a topic that I've seen so many guys ask me about. I finally thought it'd be time to come around and do a video on it. You know, I even contemplated doing a whole series on this, and maybe we will one day in the future, but right now I just wanted to get it all in one video. And what that is books that I recommend you check out because it did a lot for me. All right, so I got the top 5 books that really turned my life around, and we're gonna hop into that right now. Let's get it. Number 1, The Game by Neil Strauss, and that probably is my number 1 because what it did for me was A, it introduced me into game, and B, I saw so much of my own story inside of Neil Strauss's story in that book that it was just unreal. You know, it was the introduction and the gateway to so many people to get hip to the pickup community and just, you know, at least finding out about it, if not fully engaging with it, which is what I did inevitably, is just become fully engaged with it. But the thing is that his story resonated with me so much, just being terrible, man, with women and stuff like that. The lengths that he went to and the work that he put in to, you know, get to where it is that he wanted to go to become not just proficient, but very, very, very good. And also another really cool aspect of that book to me is, you know, the whole introduction into game thing. It like took pickup that was like very, very, very underground and brought it to a pop culture type of mainstream type of level, to where it kind of became a thing that people just kind of knew about. It you know, introduced into the lexicon things like negs and stuff like that. And so I thought that was a really cool thing, that it was like a gateway to that, you know? And so, and I think it's a good starting point, because I believe that it's not just me that had that experience and shared experiences with Neil, but also I think there's plenty of you out there watching this who also had a similar experience. Now, this is the thing that I will break down a little bit, okay? I think where people get an idea of what the game is before they read it, okay? The game is not a tutorial on how to do game. Now, there are like little things in there that you can pick up, that you can apply if you want to, and things like that. But it's a story. It's his story of being an average frustrated chump to becoming a master pickup artist, and all the things that happen along the way to make that happen. So that's really what it is. So I fully endorse it, fully encourage it, and we'll hop into number 2. Let's go. Hey guys, real quick, just wanted to take a quick time out from the video just to remind you, if you're getting value out of these videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because we don't want you to miss anything. Any of the gems that we're dropping, any of the knowledge that's getting thrown out there, we want to make sure that you have it accessible to you as quickly as you can get it, all right? So hit that subscription button, hit the notification bell, like, comment. You guys know the deal by now, right? So definitely appreciate you watching this video, and let's get back into it. Number 2, No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. All right, now I just last week addressed that book in one of the videos that we did, and I was talking about it a little bit. And the reason that it was so influential for me is because I've never seen the the nice guy syndrome broke down so eloquently and so well, going so deep on it. I've never seen it addressed like that. Now I've seen articles and things like that, maybe some interviews on YouTube or things along those lines that touch on the nice guy syndrome, but never something as depthy as a whole book. And it gives you all kinds of actionable advice and things that you can go out and do, different missions, all that kind of thing, and really breaks down at the core what nice guy behavior is and how to eliminate it. And the reason it was so impactful for me is because I saw so many of those tendencies and qualities in myself that needed to be rooted out, and I didn't even know it was a problem until I came across this book and realized, you know what? This is very problematic for me and really is something that I need to get handled and situated in my life. So if you deal with nice guy tendencies, where the girl, you're always falling into the friend zone, and the girl, she's like, oh, I don't want to ruin what we have, our friendship, or, you're such a nice guy. He's so sweet, that kind of thing. If you run into that a lot, I would fully encourage you to take a look at that book, read it, and apply it, okay? The flip side of that book, there's nothing bad about it or anything like that, but, what I would suggest is definitely take the action that is called for you to do in that book if you want it to work for you, okay? All right, we're gonna hop into number 3. Let's go. Number 3, Mystery Method by Mystery. All right, here's the deal. You see a lot of people nowadays saying that it's dated, that, that stuff wouldn't work today, that, it's just played out, who wants to walk around with fuzzy hats and goggles and platform boots and things like that. I hear you, okay? Particularly when we're talking about the peacocking stuff, okay? I'm with you on that. However, I will say this. There is probably 80% of that book that I think still applies today. And here's the thing, man. If you take it at face value and just read it to get pickup lines and spit pickup lines, you're not reading it correctly, all right? What you want to do is read that so you can gauge the map work of an interaction. Where it's starting to where it's ending, how to guide it, direct it, where you want it to go, the sequence in which it should be for it to work out best for you. That's the big takeaway. Second to that, all the things that he talks about, if you understand the theory behind why he's doing what he's doing and why it would work, then you can generate your own your own pickup shit, your own routines, so to speak, or stories, or, you got to understand why it works, not that it works, okay? Because ultimately what you're going to do is, and I think a trap that a lot of guys fall into with Mystery Method, the book, and just mystery in general, is, and he warns against this, by the way, is becoming a social robot where you're reading a bunch of lines, you're memorizing these lines, then you're going out and performing these lines. It's not that. It's taking parts of your own life and accentuating it with that theory behind it is what makes it work, So just know that. And also another really great takeaway. So if you're reading Mystery Method and you're picking up lines and you're just regurgitating them, it's not going to be something that is probably going to work to your benefit ultimately. Because sooner or later, the real you is going to show through and it's not going to be congruent with what you were doing before. And that's a pitfall that a lot of guys make when they start getting into Mystery Method. I did that, okay, early on. And I realized I didn't like the fact that I wasn't being genuine and being myself, but I still used the same theory behind it. All right, we're gonna hop into number 4. Let's go. Number 4, introducing NLP. All right. Now, NLP is a thing that I don't really hear too many guys talking about it anymore. It's kind of old school pickup, old school game type stuff. But again, just like we talked about with Mystery Method, if you take the things that you learn from NLP and apply why it works, not just taking like Ross Jeffries type lines and just saying what he says, understand why he's saying what he's saying. And then you can create your own dynamic and your own lines for, to work in conjunction with NLP. But what I really, really, really like about NLP is opening your mind up to different ways of thinking and different ways of communicating that I don't think a lot of people are prone to know before being introduced to NLP. Now, NLP has its detractors and things like that, and say it's pseudoscience and all that. And you know what? It very well could be. All right. But here's what I do know. All right. I know that without NLP, a lot of the successes that I had in life, not just in game, but in life, I can directly attribute to learning and knowing NLP. I use NLP to this day for meditation processing and different things like that, just to keep my mind sharp, to be able to communicate with people better. Okay, so, there's a lot of things that you can take out of NLP and just apply it to your normal life. And believe you me, there's a lot of things that are out there in the public mainstream, when you hear communication coaches and things like that talking, that come directly from NLP. That they took out of NLP that are very, very, very common things that you hear in business training and stuff like that, where it's just a piece taken from NLP, such as mirroring. All right, like you hear people talk about mirroring, like maybe like in a job interview or something like that, where the person interviewing you, the manager, owner of the business, whatever, is sitting a certain way, and so you sit that same way, and that's to make them more comfortable with you. And psychologically speaking, it makes them think that you are a lot like them, and people tend to like people that are like them. That's a way of showing charisma. I really recommend that you check out Introducing NLP first before checking out any other NLP books, because it lays the foundation for everything that you're going to learn about NLP from there on out. Okay. There's a gang of NLP books, believe me, but I think Introducing NLP is a great place to start with it. Okay. All right. We're going to hop into number 5. Let's go. Number 5, The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. All right. That was my introduction to Robert Greene books. Okay. He's got a gang of them. He's got a ton of books and they're all great. All of them. I recommend reading any of them. You could pick up any one of his books and start there and come away with a ton of knowledge. But I think that that's a good place to start, though, the 48 Laws of Power, because it really gives you a breakdown of what power looks like, how to gain it, but most importantly, how to guard yourself against other people's tactics that they may be using. You can recognize it and then defend yourself so you don't get taken on a ride or something like that. You don't get scammed, or, people aren't manipulating you as easily because you can see the tactics that they're playing before it comes to a head, So with the 48 Laws of Power, the breakdown of the book is, I think it's fascinating in that it's not like a normal book where it's chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Each law has its own little chapter. So what it does is it explains that law. Law 1 is this. This is the law. Then it gives you a historical context in which that law was used and to that person's benefit. Then it gives you a breakdown as to how it would be used today. Then it gives you, not every law, but many of them, it will give a reversal where it will say, like, don't use it in this situation though, because it's not likely to work if this happens. So that's why I think it's such a dope book, because it breaks it down thoroughly. It shows you an example why it worked, and shows you why it would work today, in what areas you could use it, and in what areas to not use that particular method. Okay, so listen, guys, definitely appreciate you watching this video. Earlier, the first tip, or the first book that we talked about, was The Game by Neil Strauss. We did a whole series on the masters of the game, where we talked about Neil, we talked about Mystery, we talked about Ross Jeffries, Owen, RSD Owen, there was like 10 or 11 guys that we talked about. We talked about Neil Strauss, we talked about Mystery, RSD Owen, Hypnotica, Ross Jeffries. So many of the early guys when pickup hit the mainstream, and just kind of gave a synopsis of each individual person, what they taught, how you can apply it to your life, things like that, how I took it and used it, things of that sort. So we got a whole series on that. But the first one is on Neil Strauss, aka Style. He wrote The Game. So I'm going to encourage you, we're going to link it right here. I'm going to encourage you to go check that out and follow that series from beginning to end, because I think you're going to pick up on a lot of things that aren't talked about as much today that you can apply to your game and your life. And I will see you there.